I'd shut down the FBI Hoover Building on day one, and I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops.
Recently, Kash Patel, who's been on a lot of under fire by the left in a variety of ways, the new FBI director, he announced that he is shutting down the J. Edgar Hoover Building in Washington, where there's about 1,500 employees, as I understand.
This FBI is leaving the Hoover Building because this building is unsafe for our workforce, and we want the workforce.
You just gave up a big nugget.
We want the American men and women to know, if you're going to come work at the premier law enforcement agency in the world, we're going to give you a building that's commensurate with that. And that's not this place.
There was a lot of outrage, but remember that this was not his original decision. It was the decision during the Biden administration of Christopher Wray that this 50-year-old building was unsuitable. It was decrepit.
They say buildings carry ghosts. The Hoover Building carries something worse: secrets. Decades of surveillance, silence, and shattered trust, all behind one crumbling facade. Now it's closing. But is this justice finally catching up, or just history being buried under new concrete?
But what was more interesting, in addition to thinking he was going to shut down the building, we don't know where he wants to relocate the headquarters. I would prefer, I think some of you, if he put it in Kansas City or somewhere away from the proverbial deep state in Washington. He also said he didn't understand, of the 35,000 employees, why a third were in Washington. Washington, as dangerous as it can be, does not account for a third of all crimes.
Look, the FBI is 38,000 when we're fully manned, which we're not. In the National Capital Region, in the 50-mile radius around Washington, D.C., there were 11,000 FBI employees. That's like a third of the workforce. A third of the crime doesn't happen here. So we're taking 1,500 of those folks and moving them out.
So he's trying to disperse or recalibrate the FBI. And are we going to lament the closure of that office and what it represents symbolically? I don't think so.
Every state's getting a plus up. And I think when we do things like that, we inspire folks in America to become intel analysts and agents and say, we want to go work at the FBI because we want to go fight violent crime, and we want to get sent out into the country to do it.
Robert Mueller, a former FBI director, was the head of the special counsel's office. Remember that? And he had that dream team, the All-Stars, a hunter-killer team with the left. Was almost giddy about that they were going to get Donald Trump on Russian collusion.
Did your investigation find that the Russian government perceived it would benefit from one of the candidates winning?
Yes.
And which candidate would that be?
Well, it would be Trump.
$40 million. 20 months later, they didn't find anything. We found all sorts of improprieties within that investigation. Andrew Weissman and others cleaned their cell phones so that no one could see their text messages. We had Peter Strzok, Lisa Page dismissed from the investigation because of their notorious and now infamous tweets. We had Robert Mueller go before the House Intelligence Committee and claim that he didn't know what the Steele dossier was, nor what Glenn Simpson's Fusion GPS was. That was impossible. Those were the two catalysts that prompted his own appointment.
Firm that produced the Steele reporting, the name of the firm that produced that was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not familiar with that. The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired with the Russian government in its election interference activities.
His successor was James Comey. He's in the news right now for that weird tweet where he said he was walking on the beach and he saw 8647 get rid of Trump, or maybe, Trump, or whatever 86 can mean. I mean, it can mean a lot of stuff.
This very serious topic is that James Comey wants us to believe, and we have this photo here, that he saw a cool, these are his words, cool shell formation on my beach walk.
Yeah, my wife and I, Patrice, were walking on the beach and saw those numbers in shells on the beach. And
you didn't do this, somebody else did this.
Yeah, somebody else did it. We were on a walk.
It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, and I took the post down.
And he didn't understand it. But he's also got a novel coming out right now about a supposed right-wing celebrity who threatens people, and then something happens to the people he threatens. Was this a stunt for his book? I don't know, but it's in line with his character. He went before the same House Intelligence Committee on 245 occasions. He pled either I don't know, or I can't recall, or I don't have that information, or I shouldn't give you that information. 245 times.
Former FBI director admitting nearly he couldn't recall or remember more than 200 times.
He was the one that set up Michael Flynn and bragged about how naive Michael Flynn was not to have an attorney when he sent agents in to ambush him on the Logan Act. My gosh, nobody ever invokes that.
I sent them. Placed a call to Flynn, said, hey, we're sending a couple guys over. Hope you'll talk to them. He said, sure. Nobody else was there. They interviewed him in a conference room at the White House Situation Room, and he lied to them.
He was the person who lied to Donald Trump and said, we don't have an investigation of you, Mr. President. And then he went out and recorded that conversation. He did have an investigation. And then he had a third party leak it to the New York Times. He was the one who hired Christopher Steele.
All I'm permitted to say about that, as I understand it, is he was considered a reliable person by the FBI.
Okay.
He was a FBI contractor. They used the Steele dossier, which was fraudulent, to get FISA court warrants to, I think, improperly and unlawfully spy on people like Carter Page. That same office gave us Kevin Kleinsmith, the FDA lawyer who doctored a FISA email to spy on Carter Page. That same office then gave us the successor to James Comey, Interim Director Andrew McCabe. He lied 4 times, the Inspector General said to federal authorities, and 3 of them were under oath, which was the basis for his firing. He was followed by Christopher Wray. Why was he spying on parents at school board meetings? Why was he spying on what they called radical traditional Catholics? And why did they do the Mar-a-Lago raid? Why did they go in there with props?
I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter.
Former President Trump's attorneys argue the Biden administration Justice Department authorized the use of deadly force if necessary during that raid.
And special files, and scattered the files on the ground where they were not there when they came, and then take pictures of them and add a little classified. Why did they take away 13,000 documents? And out of the 13,000 documents, they only found 102 that were classified, 0.007. I could go on with Christopher Wray. This is what he gave us. He had the chief counsel, James A. Baker, of the FBI working with Twitter and Facebook to suppress news of the laptop. The laptop was authenticated by Christopher Wray's FBI. They kept it silent while 51 supposed intelligence authorities said that it was Russian disinformation. Why didn't the FBI say, no, it's not? We've authenticated it for over a year.
The FBI is lost. It's broken. It's way past time to clean this FBI house up.
Why? Add it all up. Mueller, Comey, McCabe, Kleinsmith, Christopher Wray, Strzok, Page. And I think it's been a very good but overdue thing to close down that Washington office and close a sad chapter in the history of a once great agency.
The Hoover Building is closing, but this isn't just demolition. It's confession by collapse. A monument to decades of overreach is being erased, brick by brick. But let's be honest, shutting a building is easy. Shutting down a culture of political protection, that's the real test. Because unless the system changes, we're not burying corruption, we're just relocating it. And if the center of federal power no longer deserves a home in Washington, then maybe the real question is, what else needs to be torn down?